Everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe channel for another episode of Throwback Thursday movie reviews. I'm Joe, and let's get to it. Okay, so we got the Oscars coming up, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, and I thought there were only two sequels in the that were nominated for Oscars, but there were actually three, so I actually mistimed it. So I'm going to do two of the previous films, the originals, today, to those Oscar films. I thought I was being clever. I'm clearly not. But let's get to it. Since we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier being nominated for an Oscar, I'm going to talk about its predecessor, Captain America: The First Avenger. Captain America: The First Avenger was basically a necessary film. This is a hero that I feel like people didn't really care about. I know I didn't care about a movie about him, but it just seemed necessary. He needed to be there for the Avengers. He is the first Avenger, so it needed to happen. And then, you look at the cast, you look at Chris Evans, and it was just like, oh, the Human Torch? And then I ended up seeing, I believe Scott Pilgrim versus the World was when he kind of became a parody of himself. It was so funny. He just hit the nail on the head. I'm just like, I think this guy could act from Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and he absolutely proved it. Chris Evans he's like, I feel like he's the perfect choice to play Captain Steve Rogers or Captain America. It's absolutely, it just adds to another great casting that Marvel has done and has continued to do. He is fantastic in the role. That being said, this movie, it's really not great. It's good. It's good. I mean, you have Hugo Weaving. Hugo Weaving's always great, but kind of not so much in this movie. I feel like they didn't really realize the full potential of the Red Skull. And I guess that's kind of a spoiler in a way, but you've probably seen it by now. The so I mean, like I said, this movie was, it needed to happen, and people were like, okay, it's there, good, but in the end, it kind of established what we have in Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier, which ended up being absolutely a fantastic movie and one of the greatest Marvel films that they've ever put out. I mean, I believe that because we saw the second one, the setup to it is absolutely, it's fantastic. I think that I could go back and watch the first Avenger and maybe appreciate it more in that sense. One of the dumb parts of the first film that just popped in my head is that Captain America invades a Hydra camp, and he has it's not the shield yet, but it's just a Captain America shield, and it's basically an American flag, and he's running through a Hydra base, and no one's seeing him. Doesn't really make sense, but like I said, it's a good film. It's a good film. It's just not great. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is great. And this, I will say, it's a nice setup for it. So I mean, I'll give Captain America: The First Avenger 3.5 out of 5 cups. I would recommend seeing it if you haven't seen it yet. But at the same time, it's a story that kind of just needs to be told. It's nothing special, and it's pretty much a setup for the Avengers and for Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And if it needed to happen, then great, because we got a lot of great things, and we got a great character and great casting in Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan, actually, because he turns out to be phenomenal as well. And you actually see their bond in the first film, and you're able to kind of understand what the struggles of Chris Evans in the second film, and Bucky Barnes as well. It's Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier. If you haven't seen that yet, I mean, you're just not a fan, and you're never going to watch Marvel movies, so that's not really a spoiler. Anyway, moving on. And Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is nominated for Best Visual Effects. It is also going against Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So let's review Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Sorry, I don't have the... what was I going to say? Separate movies. They're in the same package. But it was a great deal. It was a great deal. Like, come on. So, yeah. So I'm talking about this one, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. My first complaint is about this franchise is that the first movie should be called Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and the second movie should be called Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But that didn't happen. Is it a big deal? No. It's just something that I point out. Because these movies actually are really good. Again, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is better than its predecessor, but Rise, man. Rise of the Planet of the Apes had so much going against it. Like, it had a terrible M. Night Shyamalan... oh, wait, was it Tim Burton? It was Tim Burton. I think it was Tim Burton. Anyway, it was one of those terrible people. And it had that awful twist ending with Mark Wahlberg, and it was just bad. I wish I remembered which person it is. I don't know why I'm thinking it's both of them. Anyway, yeah, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It was coming off that film. I mean, it had nothing going for it. When I saw the trailer, I was just like, I can't believe they're actually making this movie. No one cares. And then the reviews started to come out, and the reviews really good, really, really good. And it was like, okay, I'll give it a watch. And then you went, and it's really good. It absolutely recovered the franchise that was absolutely, like, if you could be more than dead, that's what Planet of the Apes was. The CGI of the apes, the motion capture of Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is fantastic. There's great moments. It has great climaxes. I mean, it's a very good film, and actually Dawn of the Planet of the Apes builds off that film's success and makes a better film. So I mean, this franchise is absolutely spectacular right now, and it was, like I said, it was dead. So, I mean, like I said, you have Andy Serkis. James Franco's very good in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And it's actually their bond that once you get to Dawn and you get the scene where Caesar actually finds a tape recorder of, him talking to James Franco. It's really emotional. I mean, I cried. And it's based on the great relationship that James Franco and Caesar actually formed in the first film that made that so great. So I mean, it's very powerful. It makes you. It's interesting. It makes you in a way. While rooting for the humans, you're also rooting for the apes in a way. And I feel like that's a difficult thing to do, to kind of understand where animals are coming from, and they did it. I mean, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a solid film, and is a great reboot, prequel, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it absolutely captures the correct essence of what Planet of the Apes should be. I'm excited to see what they come up with in the third film. It should be very interesting. This is a very successful franchise. I think it made more than $700 million worldwide. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes did. So, I mean, what a great franchise. And like I said, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is going against Captain America: The Winter Soldier in visual effects. Will it win? I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think it's between Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Interstellar for that category. But I guess that's a conversation for another day. With the Oscars coming up, I'll be putting something. I'll be giving my picks on the some of the major categories of what I think should win. I'm not sure exactly what day that's going to come out, and I'm not going to do every category. I don't think you want to read through that whole thing, but I will be giving my picks as what I think should win the Oscars. I just saw Boyhood, so I completed everything. I've seen every movie that's been nominated for Best Picture, and I'm ready to go for the Oscars. Again, that's February 22nd. If you want to sit there and be bored for about 3.5 hours, the Oscars is the place for you. Other than that, I'm Joe, and I hope you enjoyed this 2-pack of movie reviews for the Throwback Thursday movie review edition. See you guys Saturday.